everybody. I'm Mike Cardell from Boston Making a Difference with BMAD Spotlight. And today with us, I'm happy to say we have a person who's making impact not only in the Boston area, but worldwide with her organization called World Unity, Inc. Sara Ting is with us today. She's a diversity and inclusion expert and president of World Unity, Inc. And Sara's making a big difference in the world. Hello, Sara.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for thinking of us, and thank you for the great work that you really do to highlight all the different wonderful organizations in the community. Thank you so much, Mike.
Oh, Sara, it's great to have you here. Sara, why don't you tell us a little bit about first, who you are and what you're doing and with World Unity, Inc., and so the audience can get a feel for, all the great things you're doing.
Well, thank you again. So, Mike, the work that I'm doing happened organically because the field of diversity and inclusion didn't really exist when I graduated from college, without revealing my age. So it was literally an organic process. And the catalyst for all of it is a poem called The Sun. And this was actually written in a personal journal. It was really never meant to be public. It became public in a citywide multimedia public service campaign back in 1985, Mike. Wow. This poem was all over the city of Boston, billboards, the MBTA, produced into a PSA and aired on all 3 network affiliates. And then the campaign was so successful, it was duplicated the following year in New York City, billboards, subway, and then the network, CBS and NBC, aired the public service announcement.
Sara, that's that public service announcement. I have a copy of it here. Why don't we show the audience, so they get a feel for, what the message is, because it is an important message today more than ever. So I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna play that message for the audience, and then we'll come right back.
Are you greater than the sun that shines on everyone? Black, brown, yellow, red, and white, the sun does not discriminate. It shines on men and women, rich and poor, old and young, gay and straight, physically and mentally challenged, all religions, all of humanity. We're all in this together, making it a better world for the next generation. World Unity, Inc. has a powerful message to inspire and transform the world. Please make a difference and visit worldunityinc.org.
That's a great message, Sara. The world needs that now more than ever, especially in this historic period of the pandemic virus. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, during this historic time?
And I couldn't agree with you more, Mike, what you just said. The world needs this now more than ever. Unfortunately, the pandemic, because it originated in China and has been referred to as the Chinese virus and Wuhan virus, now it has increased prejudice and biases towards Asian Americans across the nation and globally. The reality is, Mike, prejudice and biases have always been part of the American history. It started the day the nation was born. Native Americans, women, Asians, Blacks, Latino, gay, transgender, queer, all of these people, mentally and physically challenged, have always been experiencing prejudice and biases. Have we come a long way? Absolutely, Mike. We have come a long, long way. However, recognizing Dr. King and heeding his concern, he said, we can pass all the laws we want. We cannot legislate the heart. It's the culture that we have to think about. And now, especially with the internet, which gives all of us a platform to promote both good and bad information. Both good and bad information. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Unfortunately, there are more than 12 people per state who have an intolerance for people who are different. And they can use this platform to amplify their intolerance and their bigotry. And the reality is, none of us human beings are free of unconscious biases, and it doesn't make anyone a terrible human being. I tell people, welcome to the human race. However, some of us have more of it than others. Some of us have more work to do on ourselves than others. And then we hear about issues of institutionalized racism, policies, systems, and that's true. However, these systems, policies, and institutions are not going to change by themselves. They're going to change because they have enlightened leaders who have the courage and the will to make the necessary changes. So ultimately, it still goes back to each of us. We have to do the work on ourselves. It's a daily practice, Mike, a daily practice. And the PSA helps us. It's a tool to help us. If we meditate on this PSA every day before we started our day, it would help us in how we treat one another, how we proceed, how we go forward. And if we are in a leadership role, creating policies and systems, we will be better at being more inclusive, and our unconscious biases won't take over. And the other beauty about this PSA, Mike, not only does it help all of us become more self-aware of our own unconscious biases, but for those of us who are the recipient of prejudice and biases, the PSA helps us build resilience, fortitude, and the capacity for forgiveness. Because prejudice and bias, it's part of the human conditioning. You're never going to reach a day when we've eliminated in every city, every school, every community, every nation in the world. That's never going to happen. It is the responsibility of each generation to advance equality forward and to minimize it. However, each of us play a role, just like this pandemic. Mother Teresa actually has a really powerful quote that identifies prejudice and bias as a disease. She said, "I've come to realize over the years that being unwanted is the worst disease that any human being can experience. Discrimination makes a person feel unwanted. You do not belong here." And Mother Teresa, who won the Nobel Peace Prize, she said, "I've come to realize over the years that being unwanted is the worst disease that any human being can experience." So we all play a role making each of us feel belonged and accepted, whether it's in school, the workplace, the community, or creating a policy.
Sarah, that's so well said. And you know, I've worked with you a few times now with that beautiful song that you have, "We All See the Stars." Tell us a little bit about how that song came about, and the wonderful things that are happening from it.
Yes, and thank you, Mike. You've been great working with us. We wish there were more leaders like you who are so generous and so kind with your time. We really need more leaders like you, Mike. It's true what they say. We're all in this together. It truly is leaders like you who have helped us share our vision and our mission. So this song actually came out of the Sun poem. It inspired this beautiful song, "We All See the Stars" by John Chambriello. And the song was performed at the United Nations by children. So now we have this wonderful program called Singing Equality Across America and around the world. We see this song as planting seeds of equality, because we all know no child is born into the world hating groups of people. No child is born that way. It's all learned in the family, in society. So let's plant the seeds early. Give the children this song, because now you're giving the children a tool to be accountable to each other. What do I mean by that? Well, we all know we need to create a safe school environment. And when you look at these lone shooters who do the mass shooting, most of them tend to have a profile of being rejected, a loner, isolated, bullied. And so the question we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to create a school environment where every single student feels valued and accepted by his or her or their classmate? What tools are we giving them? Because it's not possible to expect the teacher to be looking over the shoulder of every single student to make sure they say and do the right thing to their fellow classmate, whether it's during lunchtime, recess, or after school. So what tools are we giving the children to make them accountable to each other? By giving them this song, there's a simple line in the song. "Hey, are you greater than the sun that shines on everyone?" So if a student witnesses another student being bullied or discriminated, that's all they have to say to remind them. And there's no judgment there. There's no demonizing. It's just reminding the student to treat your fellow classmate with respect and dignity. Your fellow classmate is a human being just like you. And one teacher that we've been working with here in Massachusetts, Jacqueline O'Connor, God bless her, she's been so great. Not only has she taught the children the song, but she's also led them in discussions, because we do provide a simple lesson plan, asking the students simple questions. And the students, their responses show the power of the song. One student said, "One day the world will hear the song and stop discrimination." Another student said, "The song helps remind all of us that we're all human beings." And another student said she dreamed that the song helped change the world. So the children, they are the future. They represent 100% of the future. What are we giving them to empower them to value equality, diversity, and inclusion? And the beauty of all this, Mike, it's free. Nobody can say there's a budget issue here. It's free. All this requires is leadership, will, and a commitment to equality, that the next generation will be better than the one ahead of them, and treat everybody with dignity and respect, because the children are the future workforce and the futures.
That's beautifully said, Sarah. Why don't we take a quick look at the song? It's on your website, 800 kids singing it. Why don't we, I'm going to share my desktop here so the audience can see it. So hang on one second while I share the song. Sarah, that was just awesome. I get goosebumps every time I hear and see that song. It's just beautiful.
Mike, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It kind of brings tears to my soul. And I try and imagine children all over the world singing that song, because really That's what needs to happen. This song, the poem needs to be planted in the world because discrimination is a global challenge. Every nation has its particular brand. No one is free of it. And again, this is part of the human conditioning. Every nation has its particular brand of it. And again, what we're doing is so simple yet so powerful. And it's free. Who can't afford free? It requires leadership.
I
And
always say free is me. I like free.
right. And the approach that we're taking, Mike, if you really think about it, Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. You must stand on a higher ground. So this poem and the song is about speaking to our consciousness and helping us all get more rooted in our humanity. We're all human beings first, and our differences are the beauty of who we are. Not supposed to be a liability. It's the beauty of who we are. We all have many different identities. The one we all have in common is human being. We're not all women. We're not all men. We're not all Black. We're not all white. We're not all Asians. We're not all Catholics. We're not all Presbyterians. We are all human beings first. And if we get rooted there, so the question becomes, what does it mean to be a human being? Where does our compassion, our empathy, it comes from our humanity and valuing each other.
Sarah, that's just awesome. So we'll finish up here. Why don't you tell the audience how they can help, how they can get a hold of you if they need to, or how they can donate?
Yes, and before we end this, as you know, there's this wonderful symbol called the Statue of Liberty, which promotes freedom. But there is nothing on the Statue of Liberty that says don't discriminate. So if we all stop and think about this for a moment, how can a person, an individual, experience liberty if that person is experiencing prejudice and biases? You can't. So we need both. We don't have the heart of liberty down, which is equality. And you can't have true justice if you have inequality. So World Unity Landmark, we have been dedicated for the last 26 years to build the first landmark promoting equality, diversity, and inclusion. 26 years so far, Mike, we haven't given up. We have this beautiful design concept, if you can show it after my comment here. We collaborated with the Boston Architectural College on a design competition back in 2011. And this vision to build the landmark, it really was one of the major catalysts to create World Unity Inc., to build this landmark. And we're hoping, God willing, that the path will be made and all the funds will be there to build it, because we have to anchor the truth in the world. We have to anchor it. The internet is a powerful tool to distort the truth. So by anchoring this, now we will have the Statue of Liberty and the World Unity Landmark promoting equality. You cannot have true justice if you don't have equality. The landmark will be promoting equality, sending a clear message out to the world. Boston is an international city. It was the second largest entry point of immigrants to the world. This is a fitting place, and it is a place where so many people come to see history. Well, we want to make history by building the first landmark in the world. And so for people who want to, there's so simple what you can do. If you're not able to make any simple donation, then just share our website. Share the song, share the poem. It's all free. If you're a teacher, go look at the song. Share it with your music teacher. Do a simple lesson plan with it. Plant the seeds early. And the poem is right on the homepage. So all of us can do a simple click. You don't have to go to a meeting. You don't have to demonstrate. All you have to do is click, share, share. If you want this world to be a better place for the next generation, then help us plant this message in the world.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was just a great message that the world right now needs to hear more than ever. There's some good messages out there now with everyone. We are all together, and what better time to really get people to look at World Unity Inc. and diversity and inclusion. It really is a good time, good place. World Unity Inc. and Sara Ting are doing great work, and I'm happy to say they were here with us on BMAD Spotlight today. Sara, thank you so much. I
Mike,
appreciate it.
thank you. And if I can leave with a quote by Aristotle, who said, "Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all." The poem, the song, and building this landmark will educate our hearts. And thank you, Mike, so much for your good work and you continuing to really empower nonprofits with their vision and their message.
I'm happy to. I try to give back. That's what Boston Making a Difference is all about. And BMAD Spotlight is about spotlighting people who are making a difference. And Sara Ting, that is you.
God bless you, Mike. Take care. Stay
You too.
healthy and safe, everybody.